In what has been described by our sources as a night of merrymaking, Apollo was allegedly in the company of more than 7 men and 3 ladies. He is said to have left the club for Jarika Hotel County Lodge at 5:30 in the morning. Police reports confirmed that Apollo and his passengers left the hotel at 6:05 a.m. using the ill-fated chopper to an unknown destination. But a loud bang heard from Lake Nakuru confirmed that the occupants of the helicopter may be in trouble.
Lake Nakuru is a bit unique in the first place because it's a shallow lake. I think it's about 2-3 meters deep or up to 7 meters deep. It's dirty. I mean, there's a lot of mud based on siltation and also pollution from the nearby, the sewage and so forth. And there are also, it is rocky, and there are a lot of stumps, trees and so forth. So the water is dirty, you cannot be able to see. So the divers, for example, cannot be able to observe far, and they cannot be able to dive deeper because of that. At the same time, it's likely that the aircraft and those victims could be trapped in those rocks because it's normally they float. However, the sighting of those parts of the aircraft would have given a lead.
I think among the reasons as to why there is that delay is because they are not able to figure out exactly. They are moving in a system that we normally call that they are moving blindly. They don't know exactly the dimension that the whole operation will take. That's the reason as to why maybe there is that delay, because as of the first day, maybe what they thought would come out the first day didn't turn out to be what they wanted exactly until sometimes 4 days ago. That's when they realized that they need people from the geology department to come and figure out exactly where the chopper could be.
The rescue efforts that followed, according to security experts, was a circus. Experts say vital leads and procedures in the recovery were not followed. This was definitely the first time that such a tragedy had occurred on Lake Nakuru, and slowly the recovery process exposed various government institutions.
The greenhouse.
The Kenya Wildlife Service, together with the Lake Nakuru County government, had not stationed any rescue boat anywhere near Lake Nakuru. 4 that had been bought by the county government were taken to Lake Naivasha in 2015. Though the first responders, including journalists, arrived at the scene 2 hours after the crash, little could be done as vital equipment and a boat, which were availed, arrived 4 hours later. Divers from the Kenya Navy arriving 1 hour after the equipment they had to fly in from Mombasa.
For the prepositioning of the equipment, it's not necessarily that it should be on the ground, but it should be put in a place whereby it can be moved to a given area within the shortest minimum time. So having Lake Naivasha, it's not very far from Nakuru, but then the plan should be there on how to move those equipment from Naivasha to Nakuru. If they had the plan, there could not be much problem.
Lake Nakuru, the major problems, normally the major disasters that you expect there, maybe is land-based. That is maybe wildlife, maybe poachers, maybe traffic accidents and so forth, or some of the visitors or tourists disappearing or getting lost in the wilderness. And you know, the lake is normally silent. I mean, there is no activity in the lake. There is no boating. It's an alkaline lake, and therefore you don't find any activity. There's also a shallow lake where you don't find much of that, any activity actually. And therefore, any rescue mission, in most cases, has to be kind of land-based. But of course, we expect that the KWS and other government agencies have plans for the plan for the lake. But now mobilizing resources could be a problem, would have been a problem. You know, resources are not enough. It also depends on when the information was passed, because those who saw, because there must have been people, those who saw the accident and reported. So it might have taken time to report. First, people realizing that an aircraft has crash landed in the lake, analyzing it, and realizing it was an accident, and then reporting it. It could take some time. Therefore, mobilizing resources always it takes a lot of time. And I think for me, the response for 3 hours, the first responders, I think was okay. But of course, there are others, like those who are based in Nairobi or based in Naivasha or Mombasa, could take time to arrive. Yes.
We've been working with the information at Naivasha, so maybe we just assume that new information,
I think that would be a good start. You know how the helicopter people have radar or movement, you know, what is it called? So you can't tell where it lost
signal. Kama walituma signal, you see the helicopter, if they sent a signal in the distance, it allocate you.
So hizi tunasikiaga black box hizo ni za 747.
No, the black box is something that is iko nayo, so tukipata wreckage you'll see it there. Itakuwa hapo ndani. But haitakupatia position, it's not going to give you a position.
Due to the confusion and hurried decision-making, the first and second day proved to be a blind chase as the divers returned to the shore with nothing to show for their efforts.
But the unfortunate thing is, so far, as we talk to the media and to Kenyans, we are yet to get to do any recovery. The divers have been in there, in the lake, but so far we have not been able to locate either the wreckage or the people on board.
On Sunday, the 22nd of October, parts of the chopper were spotted in the lake following a joint operation by the Kenya Police Air Wing, Administration Police and the Kenya Wildlife Service. However, while all this was happening, no professional expertise was engaged as both the security officers and the public handled the chopper parts, with others even taking selfies with them and posting on social media.
The moment some parts are interfered with, sometimes it is very difficult to try and figure out from which direction did that chopper came down. And once you cannot figure out exactly from which direction the chopper came down, it will be very difficult also to relocate, to locate where it is currently. Maybe those are some of the indicators to why maybe up to now they have not able to retrieve most of the bodies.
Evidence the crime scene is preserved and marked. So the location, a GPS should have shown the location of those debris, and then wait for the experts to come and really study it before picking it, because they really need to look at the situation. How is this debris? Where does it face? Does it upside? Even identifying in the first place that these debris belong to that aircraft requires an expert, and therefore the first people to be informed are the experts, and every rescue team has experts, and therefore all teams should be involved in identifying, locating, and drawing. There must be a drawing for that purpose, and I want to believe it was done, so that, because who identified that this is actually that part of that aircraft? Someone should have identified, an expert, and declare that it is actually part of it.
Maisha yangu na ninasema ni asante Jehova, ninasema ni asante Mungu wangu, uinuliwe milele Jehova, uinuliwe milele Baba yangu, maana wewe Mungu unastahili. Unisema tukushukuru Jehova kwa kila jambo, Mungu wa Israeli.
A day later, the bodies of Captain Apollo Malowa and Anthony Kipyegon were recovered, but with the search for the 3 remaining bodies continuing. The recovery mission was becoming tougher for the victims' families. Desperate family members camped at the shores of the lake, hoping to live with the remains of their loved ones, regardless of their condition.
Families did not want to even to hear the mention of Lake Nakuru, even seeing the water itself, and even the sound of the aircraft. And at some point, we had to literally go to the homes and talk to these families from their homes to agree to come to the scene.
Bado nimekaa hapa wiki moja, bado tu nikiwa natarajia kuona mtoto yangu, lakini hatujafanikiwa. Lakini tunangoja tu, tunafikiria tu mambo itakuwa sawa.
I know the anxiety of the families, relatives, and of course everybody else. But normally, rescue operations has no time limitation. It depends on the situation. It has to be done scientifically. It has to be careful. It has to be done carefully. Like the lake now has to be zoned into small zones, and such done methodically and exhaustively, so that every zone is ruled out. Because now nobody seems to know where exactly the plane landed. I mean, crash landed.
But every time an empty boat returned to land, the hopes that the 3 bodies had been found diminished. But there were many worrying trends at the lake. In a situation that was extremely tough for family members, officials failed to properly contain and manage the crowds. Politicians who often move with large entourages thronged the shores of the lake. Propaganda was spreading about the rescue mission and the condition of the 5 victims, raising emotions of the family members.
So they need to be controlled as by the incident command system on the ground. So because it's also a risk to the public whenever a disaster occurs. There's what we call series of events. After that accident occurs, it is possible that another one can occur. For the case of Nakuru, the public, if they run to that place, we have wild animals, and they can be injured.
Normally, we have a problem. When there is an accident, for example, you find everybody going in there and doing something, while it requires some expert handling. So at times we are at speed in trying to solve a situation, and in the process we might mess up necessary leads which could help us really identify. However, it's not. It cannot also be very easy, knowing the nature of the location and the nature of equipment that we have. It might also be a problem, and that might be the cause of the delay.
The fact that this was a joint operation by the military, Kenya Wildlife Service, Directorate of Criminal Investigation, Kenya Forest Service, and the National Police Service also proved to have its weaknesses. This combination of uniformed officers and civilian divers from Mombasa and Bomet counties lacked clear command, as the soldiers would run the show in the presence of the National Disaster Operations Center, an agency under the office of the president. The second day of the search, private divers from Naivasha opted out after they disagreed with the soldiers.
There must be a lead agency. In this case, we have the National Disaster Operations Center, or Disaster Operations Management Center, which normally take the lead. It's a government agency that takes the lead, and therefore one organization should be able to organize all that. We find that in most cases, they are experts, they are organizations willing to assist, but the problem is they rush there, there is no organization. And in the process, it becomes a problem to the, to the victims. And also the rescue mission will take even longer. And maybe the wrong equipment and wrong people are sent to do the rescue mission, which might end up being a problem.
These are people who have never met before. We have the KWS, we have the firefighting department of the county government, we have the Kenya police. So unless, I think the best thing is that if it could have been an entity that has always been carrying out drills together, so that they know how to get in such like a situation, then they will be complementing each other, as opposed to when maybe, I'm not saying that it is there, but you might find that wherever a disaster like this one happens, instead of having a multi-agency approach that complements each other, they end up competing against each other, which is also a disaster by itself. The biggest undoing for that entity is the fact that it is not well structured currently as we talk. It is not in a position to carry out its activity in collaboration with other agencies, like for instance, the county entities, the police, the KWS, and maybe the Kenya Army. And I think that will be the best approach if at all it wants to realize its goal of mitigating.
Another impending danger is the health condition of the divers, as some have already been treated of typhoid and skin diseases as a result of the contamination in the Silent Lake.
Let us use modern science in trying to do these kind of things. There are remote-controlled sensors that can go deep into waters and murky waters like this. It's not the first time they're having an accident in murky waters. Let us hire the equipment, and let's not go back to the national government. If we are a government in Nakuru in charge of 2 million people, we should have at least the funds to go and hire those things from Sweden, from Israel, or from Australia. They are little equipment that can be able to work in places where human beings cannot be able to do. Because as we are now, we are not punishing the officers. Keeping them here beyond 11 days in this typhoid-prone and malaria-prone environment and sewage dump, we are not being fair to their humanity also. That is my plea.
Even as family and friends mourn the death of the 5 passengers that were in the ill-fated helicopter that crash-landed into Lake Nakuru, one thing is evident, that the disaster management docket in the country has once again been caught flat-footed, with the recovery mission entering its 3rd week. Victor Ogale, KTN News, for Behind the Headlines.